Good evening, and welcome to our discussion. Tonight, we delve into a compelling and increasingly relevant question. Should smart drugs, substances claimed to enhance cognitive functions like memory, focus, and creativity, be made legal for general use? This is a topic that sits at the intersection of personal liberty, medical ethics, and societal aspiration. Joining us to navigate this complex terrain are two distinguished guests. Mr. Alex Chen, a neuroscientist who will argue in favor of legalization and responsible use, and Dr. Sarah Jones, an ethicist, who will present arguments against widespread legalization, highlighting potential risks. We will begin with opening statements, followed by rebuttals, and a moderated discussion, concluding with closing remarks from each speaker. The implications of this debate are profound, touching upon how we define human potential and the lengths we are willing to go to achieve it.
Thank you, Dr. Hayes. It's a pleasure to be here. When we speak of smart drugs or nootropics, from a scientific perspective, we're referring to a range of substances that show potential for enhancing cognitive functions. These can include compounds like modafinil, often used for narcolepsy, but also known for its alertness-promoting effects, or methylphenidate, prescribed for ADHD, but studied for its impact on concentration in other contexts. Furthermore, research is continually exploring new compounds with nuanced effects on memory, learning, and executive function. A core tenet of my argument rests on individual autonomy. Competent adults should, I believe, have the right to make informed decisions about their own cognitive states and pursue enhancement, provided their choices do not inflict harm on others. This isn't about seeking a recreational high. It's about the considered choice to optimize one's mental capabilities. The potential benefits are significant. Imagine students better able to absorb complex material, professionals in high-stakes fields maintaining peak performance under pressure, or even support for an aging population facing natural cognitive decline, allowing them to maintain independence and quality of life for longer. I am not advocating for an unregulated free-for-all. On the contrary, I firmly believe that legalization must be accompanied by robust regulation. This regulation should ensure safety through rigorous testing, guarantee quality control in manufacturing, and mandate clear, comprehensive information so individuals can provide truly informed consent. Prohibition is not the answer. Responsible oversight is.
Thank you, Dr. Hayes and Mr. Chen. The allure of cognitive enhancement, the idea of a sharper mind or improved memory through a simple pill, is undeniably powerful. I concede that. However, we must approach this allure with extreme caution and scrutinize the ethical implications thoroughly before considering widespread legalization. My primary concern revolves around safety and the often unknown long-term effects of these substances. Many so-called smart drugs are prescription medications developed for specific neurological or psychiatric conditions. They carry known side effects, and their impact on a healthy brain, particularly over extended periods, is not well understood. We are essentially proposing large-scale experimentation on the population. Then there are the numerous unregulated supplements marketed as cognitive enhancers, many of which have little to no proven efficacy and may even contain harmful impurities. Legalization could inadvertently legitimize these questionable products, if not managed with extreme care. Beyond safety, the issue of fairness and equity is paramount. If these drugs become commonplace, access will inevitably be skewed by socioeconomic status. This could create a cognitive divide, a society where those with the financial means to afford these enhancements gain an unfair advantage in academic institutions and the competitive job market, further entrenching existing inequalities. Finally, we must consider societal pressure. The normalization of smart drug use could subtly, or even overtly, pressure individuals to partake simply to keep up, to remain competitive. This erodes the value we place on natural ability, hard work, and genuine learning, potentially transforming our society in ways we may come to regret.
Dr. Jones raises valid points, particularly regarding safety, which is why I emphasize regulation, not an open market. Currently, individuals seeking cognitive enhancement often turn to illicitly sourced prescription drugs or untested supplements, which is far more dangerous. Legalization would bring these substances into the light, allowing for stringent quality control, mandated research into long-term effects, and medical supervision for distribution, significantly mitigating risks compared to the status quo. Regarding the fairness argument, society already accepts numerous forms of enhancement. Consider private tutoring for students, specialized coaching for athletes, or even the ubiquitous use of caffeine for alertness. These also disproportionately benefit those with more resources. The challenge isn't to ban all enhancements, but to ensure that society strives for equitable access and addresses systemic inequalities through broader social policies, not by prohibiting tools that could offer benefits. In fact, with proper oversight and perhaps even subsidization in certain contexts, smart drugs could potentially help level the playing field for individuals with specific learning difficulties or those struggling with age-related cognitive decline, offering them a chance to participate more fully in society.
While Mr. Chen's vision of a perfectly regulated system is appealing, I remain skeptical that regulation alone can adequately address the profound safety concerns, especially concerning subtle, long-term cognitive or emotional side effects that are notoriously difficult to track and attribute. We are talking about altering brain chemistry for non-medical reasons, and the brain is an incredibly complex organ. The consequences of widespread, chronic use are largely uncharted territory. Furthermore, the societal pressure argument cannot be so easily dismissed by comparing smart drugs to caffeine. Caffeine is a mild stimulant, widely accessible, and its effects are generally well understood and limited. Potent cognitive enhancers, however, could create a far more intense cognitive arms race, particularly in highly competitive academic and professional environments, leading to a new kind of performance anxiety and discrimination against those who choose not to use them. And this brings us to the blurry line between enhancement and treatment. Where do we draw it? There's a significant risk of medicalizing normal cognitive variations, pathologizing aspects of the human condition that we should instead address through education, lifestyle changes, or simply acceptance.
Mr. Chen, you've emphasized regulation. If smart drugs were to be legalized, how do you envision access being controlled in practice? Would these substances be available over the counter, or would they require some form of medical consultation? Crucially, how would we prevent misuse, particularly by vulnerable groups like students who might feel immense pressure to perform?
That's a critical question, Dr. Hayes. I envision a tiered system of access. Milder nootropics with a strong safety profile and extensive research might eventually become available with pharmacist consultation, similar to some current medications. However, more potent substances, or those with a higher risk profile, should absolutely require a comprehensive consultation with a medical professional, who can assess suitability, discuss potential risks, and monitor use. This isn't about handing out pills like candy. Age restrictions would be essential, likely mirroring those for alcohol or tobacco, if not stricter for certain compounds. Furthermore, extensive public education campaigns would be vital, focusing on responsible use, realistic expectations, and the importance of foundational health habits, sleep, nutrition, exercise, which no drug can replace.
Dr. Jones, you rightly raise concerns about societal pressure. Given Mr. Chen's proposed regulatory framework, do you believe such measures could effectively mitigate this pressure? Or is the very availability of these drugs likely to create an environment where non-use becomes a disadvantage, regardless of regulation?
I appreciate the call for careful regulation, but I remain deeply skeptical about its ability to contain the societal pressures we've discussed. Once these substances are legally available and marketed, even with restrictions, the perception of them changes. Defining, quote, permissible contexts for use would be extraordinarily difficult, without that definition constantly being challenged and expanded. In highly competitive environments, the pressure to use them could become implicit, even coercive, regardless of official guidelines. We might see a shift where cognitive enhancement becomes an expected part of striving for success, subtly penalizing those who opt out for ethical, medical, or personal reasons. The regulatory framework might struggle to prevent this cultural shift.
Mr. Chen, a common concern with psychoactive substances is the risk of addiction or dependence, both psychologically and physically. How does this factor into your argument for legalizing cognitive enhancers?
This is a valid and serious concern that must be addressed head-on. For certain existing compounds that might be considered smart drugs, particularly stimulants, there are known risks of dependence and addiction. We cannot ignore that. Part of the argument for legalization and regulation is to fund and encourage more research into developing newer nootropics that are specifically designed for cognitive enhancement with minimal to no addictive potential. The goal is to innovate safer alternatives. Furthermore, medical oversight, as I mentioned, would be crucial for monitoring signs of dependence, managing withdrawal if necessary, and ensuring that individuals are not using these substances in a way that becomes detrimental to their overall health. Responsible use protocols would be key.
Dr. Jones, are there any circumstances, however limited, where you could foresee a potential benefit to cognitive enhancement that might outweigh the substantial risks you've outlined? For instance, in professions demanding extreme, sustained focus for public safety, like surgeons or pilots, or perhaps for individuals experiencing mild cognitive impairments not yet classified as a disease?
That's a nuanced question. I would say there's a critical distinction between therapeutic use and widespread enhancement. For very specific, highly controlled therapeutic applications, under strict medical supervision, and after all other avenues have been exhausted, one might cautiously consider certain interventions. For example, if a substance demonstrably helped an individual with early-stage, non-pathological cognitive decline maintain crucial daily functions, that's a conversation worth having within a medical ethics framework. This is fundamentally different from making these drugs available for general cognitive enhancement in healthy individuals. The challenge lies in drawing and, more importantly, maintaining these lines. The slippery slope argument is pertinent here. What starts as a niche therapeutic application could easily expand under commercial and societal pressures. My primary concern remains with broad legalization for enhancement purposes.
A final point for this section. How does the current widespread, often unregulated or off-label, use of stimulants like caffeine or nicotine, or even prescription drugs like Adderall by students without ADHD, inform this debate about legalizing new categories of smart drugs?
I believe it strongly informs it by showing that the desire for cognitive enhancement already exists and is being acted upon, often in unsafe ways. The off-label use of Adderall, for example, occurs without medical supervision and with drugs obtained from unregulated sources. Legalizing and regulating smart drugs would allow us to bring this existing behavior into a safer, more controlled environment, reducing harm. It also allows us to study these effects properly, rather than relying on anecdotal evidence from uncontrolled, illicit use.
While I agree the current situation is problematic, I see it as a cautionary tale rather than an argument for opening the floodgates further. The fact that some misuse existing substances doesn't automatically mean that adding more, potentially more potent, substances to the mix is the solution. It highlights the difficulties in controlling use and the potential for demand to outstrip sensible regulation. We should perhaps focus more on addressing why individuals feel the need for such enhancements and tackling those root causes, like extreme academic pressure or work demands, rather than simply providing more pharmacological tools.
In closing, I want to reiterate that the responsible legalization of smart drugs offers significant potential benefits, from enhancing individual liberty and cognitive capabilities to fostering innovation and addressing genuine challenges like age-related cognitive decline. We've discussed the risks, and they are not to be taken lightly. However, history shows us that prohibition is often an ineffective and even counterproductive strategy, driving activities underground and making them more dangerous. A carefully constructed framework of legalization with strict regulation, encompassing rigorous testing, medical oversight, and public education is the most responsible path forward. This approach allows us to manage risks, ensure quality, and empower individuals to make informed choices. We need an open-minded approach to continued research and policy development, one that focuses on maximizing the potential benefits for humanity while diligently minimizing any associated harms. Let us not fear progress, but rather commit to guiding it wisely and ethically for the betterment of all.
Throughout this debate, I have sought to highlight the substantial and multifaceted risks associated with the widespread legalization of smart drugs for non-medical cognitive enhancement. These include profound safety concerns, particularly regarding long-term effects on the brain. We've also touched upon the critical issues of equity and fairness, the potential for increased societal pressure, and the troubling prospect of medicalizing normal human cognitive states, defining ever more people as needing fixing. While the promise of a sharper mind from a pill is tempting, I firmly believe that the potential harms to individuals and society currently outweigh the speculative benefits for general, non-medical use. The pursuit of enhancement should not come at the cost of our health or our values. I urge caution and a renewed focus on proven, non-pharmacological methods for cognitive improvement, quality education, healthy lifestyles, stress management, and fostering environments that value deep learning and natural human development. True human potential, I contend, is best unlocked through these ethical and sustainable means, not through a pill.
And with that, we conclude our formal debate. I want to extend my sincere thanks to both Mr. Alex Chen and Dr. Sarah Jones for their articulate and insightful contributions this evening. You've given us a great deal to consider. Mr. Chen has compellingly argued for individual autonomy and the potential for progress through regulated access to cognitive enhancers, stressing the importance of managing rather than prohibiting. Dr. Jones, conversely, has raised crucial and deeply felt concerns about safety, fairness, and the broader societal impact, urging us to prioritize caution and natural development. It's clear that the debate over smart drugs is exceptionally complex, with valid arguments and profound ethical considerations on both sides. There are no easy answers. We hope this discussion has illuminated the key issues and encourages all of you watching to continue thinking critically about this evolving frontier of human capability.